Morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good evening.
Morning, Angel.
How are you?
All good, Angel. How about you?
Good, I'm doing good. We'll just wait a few more minutes to get everyone else on the line, and then we'll get started. All right, it's 2 minutes past the hour, so we'll go ahead and get started. We have a pretty light agenda today. It's just our normal updates that we have. So we'll start it off with the 5G update from Suresh.
Thanks, Kendall. Let me share screen. Good morning, good evening, all. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we got it.
Right. So I go on to give the 5G SA Fixed Wireless Access Project update on the Magma project. So this is the feature status. Currently, we're going through hardening of the MVC features. As such, the 5 different procedures and service requests are handled. And it's fairly stable now. However, there are 8 bugs, either from code review or from SIT or from TerraVM testing. I'm sorry. So fixing these bugs is in progress right now. And as part of this hardening of the MVC features, we also have tested the negative scenarios, say timer expiries, and then rejection causes. Say the rejection causes related to security mode reject or authentication reject, such rejection causes also we handled. Even the SM causes, means session management related, say session establishment reject, such kind of causes also are handled to an extent. However, it's a wide set of possibilities. As and when there is a need, we keep adding those. However, the commonly occurred SM causes are the ones we are planning to handle. So these things we're planning to complete in the month of October 2021. And there are other features that are in progress right now, say the 5G related QoS. As such, the default QoS on the AMF side is in code review, and multiple QoS on the session D side, it is under development and also in code review. It means it is getting added commit after commit. So it is partially in code review and partially in development. So with that, once complete, say the network initiated session modification is what we are trying to implement. Say the idea is to implement dynamic policy support. So for that, we started committing the code into the PRs. Somewhere in the month of October, plan is to transition this into integration test in the TerraVM environment. And subscriber data management front, there's a plan to add extensions to cover the AUSF related changes. And it will be ready again in Q4 2021. And other features that are planned for Q4 as such, reporting code is already committed, it's in review. Monitoring, some level of code is already available. Some additional extensions are getting added. And then multi-session support is also implemented on the access side, whereas on the session D side, some additional code is required. So this also is a feature that will be ready in Q4. I pause here and I like to take any questions from anyone and then move on to test update.
Yeah, as you said, like TerraVM testing. So these tests actually we run manually, or do we have some CI process for this?
Yeah, as part of this feature development, we are running these tests manually. However, there are a set of engineers. They are all part of GOS team. They are running these TerraVM tests in the TerraVM CI environment. You can see a group dedicated for TerraVM CI in the Slack channel.
Okay. Okay, so but once we do these manually, then we can like push and CI test will be done, let's say on GitHub Actions or something like that.
No, it is happening in a fairly automated fashion today. Yeah, say a new feature as part of initial development will go through the manual test process, and once the code gets landed on the master branch, then the corresponding test will be added to the automation environment.
Okay.
Currently around 40 plus tests are added to the automated test environment.
Okay, because in S1 API, I saw like we have a lot of tested, like huge test list. And are we trying to like do all of these with the TerraVM, right?
Yeah, some equivalent ones will keep getting added incrementally as and when a feature lands in master branch, the corresponding tests will get added to the CI pipeline.
Okay, thanks.
And in 4G, we have S1AP intake test, right? LT intake test. In the same fashion, there is a plan to add 5G SA intake test.
Right. Actually, I was out talking with Arun for bringing SRS RAN with our Magma. So we can automate testing with SRS RAN. So we'll have 3 eyes, TerraVM, S1 AP tester, and SRS RAN. So we'll be writing test scripts for all this, and we can automate this using GitHub Actions. So these things are in pipeline.
That's excellent, Subham. The more variety of test tools we keep using, the better quality the product will be. As such, there is a plan to use UE ransom as well. The developer community is little strongly biased towards UE ransom. So that is also an option.
Yeah. So actually, I have also Dockerized the UE ransom, but yeah, I don't know like yet how will we use that in CI because it's not fully functional. But yeah, I'm also working on that.
Yeah, such currently Tariq and team are offering the automation infrastructure, and from Wavelab side, it is Tapas and team that are also trying to automate these tests. Okay, so the plan is to start off with either URAN SIM or SRS SIM.
But actually, so UERAN SIM is specifically for 5G, but for 4G we need more eyes, right? Oh, yeah.
Unifying the tests is not a option at this stage, or maybe someone like Ulas or Scott may have an opinion on that. At least I don't see tests can be unified at this stage because these tests are independent, because the access side is generation specific, right? Say the N2 procedures, N1 procedures of 5G, and same way the NAS procedures of 4G, they have independent set of procedures, right? Of course, they resemble to a great extent. However, the procedures are different and the NAS containers are different. So for that reason, the tests, I believe, cannot be unified.
Right. Okay, sounds good.
But once the CI pipeline is cleaned, I think we can plug in as many test environments as we see needed for both 4G and 5G. I think I can also present a little bit on that.
Just wanted to step in and agree with what Tariq mentioned. So once the pipeline is laid out, we'll have different tests that take different amount of time to complete. So the users will have an option to say, well, I just want to run a lightweight test to make sure if connectivity works, or if I want to run like a much more heavy duty test, like full integration test to make sure this can be pushed into master, etc. So yeah, once the pipeline is laid, we'll have the ability to plug in different tests, including SRS RAN as Shubham mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good.
Hi Shubham, I'm Govind from ARM. I have a question regarding your automation setup. Is it a 2-container topology running on the same host, in which you run the HW on one container and SRS RAN tester on another container?
So Access Gateway is on different VM, and SRS RAN have 2 equipments, one eNode B and UE, and these were running on a same VM but on different Docker containers.
Okay, so it's a 2-node topology with 2 different VMs and container running within a VM, right? And that's
Yes.
your. So is it an automated test setup that you're talking about?
So not yet, but yeah, we are trying to automate that. But our Access Gateway is not Dockerized yet, so it's on a separate system. But our SRS RAN is Dockerized, so we can use that in a single system. We just have 2 different Docker images.
I see. Okay. Thanks, Shubham.
Yeah, on that, Arun may have concrete views, and thanks, Arun. Offline, you shared me the update on the containerization effort. Probably you may want to answer Govind's question as well.
Correct. So I'm just going to quickly look up our status right now. So our basic attach and traffic test have passed in a container. Right now, we are troubleshooting one open issue on like a specific session that seems to be hanging. And that's probably our only block before we can push it to master. Alternatively, we have the README as well. If we find a fix for this, we could push it in like a subsequent PR. But we are that close to actually getting this. So to just connect the dots on the 4 folks who raised questions, Suresh and Govind and Shubham, the container work, once complete, can form part of all the pipelines that you just mentioned, right? So SRS RAN could target an AGW, which could be either a package version as it is supported today, or it could be the alpha containers version, and it wouldn't really know a thing. It's just going to communicate back to like an interface, validate if everything is working as expected. So that's the goal we're working towards.
Okay, Arun. So in your local test setup, you have a 2-node topology the way Shubham explained, right?
Correct. So the TeraVM test we are running Govind, is very similar to what perhaps you and I have chatted before on how we have the dev environment in AWS. So we have like a set of containers running different versions of the AGW code inside actual AMIs. These are all EC2 instances. TerraVM, which requires two VMs, two EC2 instances, one for RAN and one for core, is also running and connecting to these devices. So that's how our setup works today. And one option for us is to expand this by adding new test suites there, to the point that Tariq made earlier around how our pipeline would look in the future. I think he presented about it yesterday. We should be able to roll these tests in as we move forward.
Okay.
One of the other questions that you had was around S1AP tester, and we've been discussing some ideas on the channel. Actually, that is something we plan to pick up in either this sprint or the next, where can we run S1AP tester outside of its current format? And I think that's one of your key asks as well, right, Govind, based on some of the challenges that you saw running it on libvirt on an ARM machine. So we want to see how we can containerize that and have it run in this pipeline as well.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if S1AP tester can run in container, that will be very conducive to run in a CI environment to do the functional testing.
Correct.
Yeah.
The other possibility also, Govind, is on this AWS setup that we have, at least I'm hoping, if we can run an ARM-based EC2 instance that I can just plug in alongside the rest of the AGWs that we have, and then point TerraVM to this new ARM-based EC2 instance, so we can validate it. So that's one possibility as well. Let's figure out which one gets us to our desired end state soon, and we'll go with that.
Right. And one other side question. So this TerraVM, do we have plans to set up in the community lab?
I don't think so. I don't know if Tariq might have specific opinions on that. I don't. So TerraVM will run as part of our intake tests. I don't know if it's going to be on the community.
Yeah, it's a licensed product, so it's going to be maybe, I don't know, difficult to make it open, but we're trying to integrate it with our current CI system, whether it's from within the lab or on the cloud. But making it open for anybody to deploy and use, that's might be a difficult one.
Okay. And this is not even in the roadmap, right? To be part of the public CI, right?
No, so to be part of the CI, it is on the roadmap. So we're hoping to integrate it to our CI system to automate the process. Okay. If that's the question.
Yeah. The automation procedure is using this same setup what Arun just explained, TerraVM and EC2 instances, right? So is that the model that we are planning?
So the immediate model, we are going to do a lab-based deployment of TerraVM. There is also a parallel investigation of how can we deploy TerraVM in the cloud? Can we deploy it on a need basis and tear it down after we're done, or we need to statically kind of configure it? That's an investigation that's already in place.
Okay.
Govind, I have a question for you on the embedded form factor that you're having. Can we know the kind of CPU and RAM you have on the box, because it's an embedded form factor? Would like to understand if we can emulate similar models.
So what is the SoC you are talking about, Suresh? I can get the details from our team. So is this, I mean, can you specifically say which system you're talking about?
No, you indicated the ARM-based environment, right? That that Arun is suggesting to host on EC2.
Right. We have several ARM servers, so it's not of embedded form factor. So we are running in server class as of now for our testing. So if you have any specific questions on embedded form factor, I can reach out to our team and get back.
All right, Govind. Thanks for that input.
Yeah.
Tarak, Arun, this is Kader. Just want to give a quick update. So at Wavelabs, we started using Rebecca tool to start with 4G, and also we're going to start using the Rebecca tool for 5G. The request that I have is, I just want to make sure that our team is in sync with you, Arun and Tariq, which I know that you're already talking, so that we can reuse the same framework that you have and plug in those tests, for the community, right? So that's one of the thought process. I just wanted to leave it here.
Absolutely, Kader. I think I just published the presentation we had yesterday on the Devops channel. So if you want to have a look at the new pipeline and how it's going to look, and I also published an epic on ZenHub for the tasks that we're working on.
Understood. Thank you. And from Wavelab's point of view, for the DevOps, the lead name is Tapas. Just wanted to make sure that I share it here, Tariq. And for the testing side, Parthiban is leading it. The reason I also wanted to bring this topic is recently we had Canonical coming and presenting us, right? So they're also trying to build a pipeline for the automatic deployment end to end. So how are we going to align their work, and what we are doing in community work in a way that, we are not duplicating the effort. So that's the thought process, something to think about, Tariq. Maybe we can take this offline, but I wanted to put it on the table.
No, thanks for bringing this up. I'll take it offline and I'll sync with you offline as well.
Thank you very much.
So from 5GSA features, we have taken a little deep dive into the DevOps. Now coming back to the 5GSA updates, I move on to the test updates. So this is the test status on SIT and then regression tests and in scale tests and in unit tests, what is going on. I like to give a quick update here. In SIT environment as such, in a couple of instances with Huawei Mate 30 UE, session establishment was through and then traffic was flowing on the UE. However, later on, for some reason, we bumped into issue with the PD session establishment. However, we couldn't debug that issue further. After our analysis from the AGW point of view, we understood that the issue needs to be triaged from the RAN side. So we are blocked for vendor support on this currently. And we have this issue for almost a couple of weeks now. And on the ITL regression tests, as such, we bumped into an issue in the regression test environment as well. The master branch builds were not going through for a few days because the Vagrant VM was not getting deleted. So some issue was there on that front, and Tim and his team members tried to resolve that issue. With the new builds, as such, the manually created builds were not hitting any issue with the paging feature. However, in the automation environment, we have this issue. So need to see if we get this test also is passing out of the regression tests that are running on the automation environment. And on the scale tests, the latest update is with the 200 UEs, 12 GNBs, and 1 PDU session per UE. The tests are fairly stable. The memory consumption is also fairly constant on a single run. However, we need to start slowly running this test in multiple loops over a few hours to see whether the stability is there or not. And once we have the fair level of stability, we'll present all the plots here once again, or maybe in a month or so. And on the unit test front, as such, we admit on the AMF side, the unit test coverage is not that great. We started adding unit tests for all the features that are already coming to a fair level of stability. So the AMF client servicer layer and NGAP unit tests related, the initial pieces of code are added. So with that, the framework will be ready and we start adding more unit tests. And plan is to add a good number of unit tests to cross 60% unit test coverage, at least by mid of November. So that is the update on the unit test side. Any questions on this test status? All right. Back to you, Kendall.
Thank you, Suresh. Okay, moving on to the DevOps update. I don't see Tim on the call. Do we have someone else that would like to speak up and give them? Oh,
I can give
thank
a
you,
quick.
Tariq.
No worries. Let me share my screen. Okay, so this is the as I was mentioning, the pipeline for CI that we discussed yesterday. I just sent the link to the DevOps channel, so please have a look. The idea is we are having 3 pipelines. One is pre-merge on PRs, one is post-merge on top of trunk and release branches, and the third one, which is the release pipeline. Quickly covering them, just we split the build process from the test process. So the pre-merge front, the build is going to run on every update to the PR, but the tests are triggered manually by the maintainers, and we're going to have a separate trigger for each test. So let's say LT and tech tests have their own trigger, TerraVM maybe have a separate trigger, and so forth. So, just going back to what we discussed, if there are more tests being added, we can add more triggers, and that specific test can be run by the maintainer to get confidence on the PR. On the post-merge, once we have a build process as well. The build pipeline is running on top of master and the release branches, and if there's any change to trunk, we go through the build process again and we push the registry. And the testing pipeline is also separate, and that one is gonna wait for infra availability at the top, and we're gonna run this opportunistically. So it's gonna be continuously running on top of master and release branches as much as we can. As soon as the infra is available, we run a new test, given that there's a new build. This way, all infra is synchronized against the same build, and hopefully we're going to build a dashboard that shows the build and a link to each test report from the bunch of tests that we're running. Lastly, the release pipeline is very similar to what we do today. It's pretty manually triggered, and the idea is just promote a build from the test registry into the production registry and build any extra artifacts that are needed, like the AWS AMIs, and then we do some just final sanity testing within the lab or with partners. So these are the top level pipelines. I created an epic for this with the tasks for the first phase. The first phase, we're aiming at just cleaning the pipeline itself, creating the pipeline, and then the second phase, we're gonna look into each component of this pipeline and maybe optimize. We're hoping we can try to optimize the build process to make it faster and more reliable. And Marie presented yesterday as well on using Bazel to speed the build process, using caching, and clean up the entire build process. And also we'll soon try to add hooks to TerraVM and Spire and test setup in the lab, as well as create hooks for people to add their own testing. So that's in a nutshell what we covered yesterday. Last thing is there was an update yesterday on the call as well that we're able to run LT and tech tests on GitHub Action nodes now. It's taking a little bit some time, like 3 or 4 hours, but that's good enough. I mean, if we're hoping to run LT and tech tests on master like 4 or 5 times a day, that should be good enough. So that's a good achievement by the team. I think Shubham and Quentin and Tim were all involved in this effort. Yeah, so that's it from DevOps side.
Basic question on the post-merge test case. At a high level, what are the difference between TVM and Spirent test?
Yeah, so TerraVM is an end-to-end that covers what do you call it? It covers 3 GPP tests for sorry, the network is I'm blanking here. For federated use case. So for federated use cases, TerraVM is very, very helpful because it implements a full, functional core network. Spirent, we're mainly using it for performance testing as well as some of the functional testing, but not the federated use case.
Okay.
Yeah.
TVM, just a basic question. TerraVM is a software tester, right? It's not a Spirent kind of hardware box, right?
No, it is a software-based solution where we hook an HW, a physical box.
Okay. Thanks, Tariq.
Tariq, I just want to check. I know that for the 5G, it is not applicable, but for the 4G, who is testing the Federation Gateway? Do you have some insights? Are we testing it or?
Yeah, we're testing that as part of TerraVM. So TerraVM utilizes the Federation Gateway.
Okay. All right. I'll reach out to you on this offline. Thanks.
So Oriol is the right person, and also Arun is here on the call. So
okay.
I hope I saw his name.
Oriol. Okay, we'll reach out to Oriol. Thanks, Tariq.
Thank you for that. We will go to the last item on the agenda, which will be a release update from Echo.
All right, thanks. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Right, so on the release updates, just a couple of things. So we decided to pivot from the original 1.7 release plan to work on an incremental release on top of the latest 1.6 branch. So we are expecting to release a 1.6.1 in the coming weeks. So because it's a dot release, as usual, there are no new features. It's mostly addressing a couple of important reported issues and other relevant fixes that will go on to make the release a lot more stable and reliable. For this release, we are expecting an extensive period of testing to ensure that we ship a more reliable product out there. So for anyone out there who is interested in helping us with this testing, please reach out and we can set you up with like a beta version of this release for testing purposes. The other thing is we are making incremental improvement to the test report that we ship with these releases. So this version will include a lot more detail about what and how we tested the product before releasing it. So once 1.6.1 is out, we'll pick the 1.7 release discussion back up and then plan for that as well. We should include a couple more interesting features like the containerization bit that Arun shared earlier on this call. So yeah, that's what it is. So 1.6.1 is our current focus. The team is working really hard to test it and make it ready so we can release in the next couple of weeks. That's it from me, Kendall. Thanks.
Thanks. Any questions for Echo? All right, well, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Is there anything else that people would like to discuss before we close?
I have a question to Tariq. So Tariq, are we planning for an ARM CI? In the past meetings, I came across a discussion around Linux Foundation, Jenkins, and ARM CI. I'm new to this. Can you brief if you have some info on that?
So the plan is not to create a separate pipeline for that. Maybe within the same pipeline, the build block, we will be building different components and most likely we'll be building an ARM based image. Now on the testing front, to be honest, I'm not sure yet on that front yet. So we'll need to discuss that for sure.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, Kendall, just wanted to let know that we have a Magma 5G meeting tomorrow, 10 a.m. EST. I'd like to invite everyone. We'll have, Magma, some of our team members showing in action with the real equipments, right? As well as AIMCO integration. So those who are interested, I kindly request you to join tomorrow's session. That's from me, Kendall. Over to you.
Yes, thank you, Cotter. And that information is in the announcements channel if you want to get the Zoom for that. And it's also on the public Magma calendar. So yeah, don't forget to join that meeting tomorrow. Okay, anything else? Otherwise, we can end this meeting early. All right, everyone have a great rest of the day and have a good weekend. Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you.